Well, kia ora koto. Welcome to the fourth planning meeting. It's amazing. Time goes by, right? I think I'm going to watch these videos one day and it's going to be like it happened. But actually so much has happened since the last meeting and it's only 2 weeks ago. Like, it's absolutely incredible. So the first order is to say thank you for everybody, all of your efforts. Everyone's contributed, little, big, doesn't matter. There's lots of activity on the Slack channel, which is really cool to see. And once again, there's people who couldn't make it to the meeting but would have been here, that type of thing. So I think my main outcome today is to, if we can, decide on the pricing so that we can then go live with the tickets in the next weekish, 10 days sort of thing. Because then I think everything else, it will fall into place. Actually, can I ask a favor? I don't know if anybody's able to make some notes of the meeting as we're talking. Is that okay? Because last time it was quite a lot of effort to then write up from memory what we talked about. But maybe if anybody hasn't been here before, maybe could you introduce yourself to this meeting? Yeah, why don't we do a whip round? That'd be good.
We did one.
Oh, we did one. Okay, that's fine. We can move on. Great. Perfect. I just didn't want anybody to feel like unwelcome. So maybe just briefly, the whole coronavirus thing, like I was on a conference call this morning because I'm on a committee organizing an event at Te Papa, which will have about 250 people. And basically we concluded it's all continuing for now, but we would just need to revisit as we go. So rather than spending a lot of time discussing do we or don't we at this point, I think it's still long enough away where we don't need to sort of make a decision. But if things escalate, like the Ministry of Health issues warnings and all that, I think then we can look at it then. Does that sound okay? Yeah. So it's, I don't.
But for coronavirus, it might be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Amazing, but I mean, one of the policies when I looked at was to do with the events, liability and cancellations. It's a separate issue.
Hello. Because that's the challenge.
Thanks, guys.
Event, right?
Yeah.
Is we end up
You
with
want to come there? Or shuffle along?
How'd the video go?
Movie star.
You're the sharpest
Thank you so
one.
much. That's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I get there, maybe not anywhere else. Maybe not
yeah.
So we just to brief you two guys, we were just chatting about coronavirus and would that impact our plans?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're concluding, at least for now, we're not going to change anything. We're just going to keep going. But obviously we'll revisit it as we get more information. And I was due to go to the same event you were due to go to in February that got canceled or postponed to October. So if worst comes to worst, we'll probably just need to postpone it and talk with the venues and find another day, but let's cross that bridge at a later point. So we kind of got some work streams which we've been speaking to each meeting. Jill, since you're here for a relatively short time, could we talk maybe just about is it comms that you're going to be helping with mainly, or inclusivity? Yeah, well, should we talk about that a little bit while you're here? Is that okay?
Right.
Yeah.
So I wasn't at the last meeting, so but I'm really keen to help in whatever that takes, and probably got a bit of capacity over the next couple of weeks.
Great.
We'll start thin out, so.
Yeah, so Hannah, do you mind giving us an update from your perspective?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
you've been leading that.
For the past couple of weeks, just been continuing to engage with different communities that we need to get perspectives from. So Lee had a conversation with Qtopia, who came back to us really keen to give their perspective on LGBTQ+. I've got the acronym right. Yes, I'm working on that. So they've given us a list of recommendations, which I've got in an email to add. I also need to talk to Zara Hussaini from the Muslim community for some considerations around that. So we've been texting and we're just trying to figure out a time to talk.
Come to our event on Monday.
Yeah, well, we're talking
true.
about Monday, so we might meet before the event.
Perfect,
So,
there you go.
so that'll work. And then there are a whole lot of other considerations that I've pulled together from the LinkedIn posts that put out some different guides on disability access, creating accessible events, creating community-oriented events, creating sustainable events, etc., etc. So now I just need to mine those for information and
Mhm.
pull that all into some kind of list.
Mhm.
So what I'm thinking needs doing with that is that we need to do like a considerations for the event location,
Mhm.
for the registration form, for transport, for the format on the day, and kind of group it by activity rather than by each community and what the considerations are, so that we can, have a broad perspective across the registration form, across how the day will run,
Mhm.
across.
So like a
etc.
matrix
Well,
with the event logistics and then the different cultural considerations.
Well, potentially, yeah, or even just listing it off, like some of the other ones I've seen, because there's so much information. For example, for a registration form, just a list of questions like, have you included people who might need to bring a support worker? Have you included people being able to select their pronouns on the
Mhm.
sign up,
Mhm.
etc., etc.
Well, that sounds like a great progress.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to support you, then you're open to that, right? So,
Yeah.
But I think it's a great idea if there was a
Um,
matrix, and then the beauty of it is it can then be shown to other people in the future
Exactly, yeah.
as a template.
So like, the more I look at it, the more it makes sense to, with all the information that I've gathered, to group it by the thing that we're doing,
Mhm.
so that no one misses anything. So if you're taking care of the spaces we're going to be using, there's a list of the things we need to consider for that. And if you're taking care of the format, there's a list, everything from how we might open it to
Yeah.
considerations in terms of the format for people who are neurodiverse or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I just need help to pull that together. Sal is taking care of seeing if we can organise some childcare, because we've been offered some funding to do that. We looked into ARA, because they've already got a childcare centre. They said they've only got the permissions to run that Monday to Friday. They're actually not allowed to use it on the weekends. So we have to look at something like YMCA, those sorts of things. So Sal's progressing that because it's a bit of a mission. And then I'd just love some help to pull everything together into a document.
Just thinking when you were talking, there's a Facebook group of intersectional feminists, which would be a really good place to actually ask the question, have we covered, have we missed anything, and get lots of input.
We'll go for it if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to pull some other points together, go for your life. Because the easiest thing for me to do is going to be starting to pull together the points I already have into some logical sections, and then we can go, okay, what's missing?
Yeah, and that's the thing I want to encourage, is that at some point you draw a line under it, and because this could easily be a PhD, maybe 3 PhDs. So just be careful that we don't overdo it on any one thing, because any of it's all good. It's just at some point you have to say, and the childcare as well, like definitely let's go 100%, but if it's not going to work, we won't do it, because you could easily, because I've got young kids and it's a lot of work, as many of us know. And if you're saying, well, we'll have a childcare and then there's 40 kids, 50 kids, 60, I'm just making it up, but it could become this extra burden that's way beyond and above what we originally intended. So I just want to urge caution about that.
I already see it as being a lot like that.
Right.
Just, it's only small, it's voluntary, but I run the play centre out where we are, and I know what the licensing requirements are.
Right.
And I know how hard it can be to actually amend those. So if we're talking a license, if ARA is not able to do it beyond Monday to Friday, then
it's just in that space.
Yeah. But if they're like that, then what's the limitations on the number of kids we can actually have?
Yeah. And the danger I see is it could become a distraction that sucks a lot of our time, but actually isn't our core purpose. Our core purpose is to put on an excellent unconference for the 300-ish people who come. So we just have to be really careful that we don't get distracted by.
I think if we don't have an answer by the next meeting for that, that's a
Thank you very much for the potential $500, but actually it's not in our,
because we want to enable people who couldn't be there if they didn't have childcare to be there, but we also don't want to have to organise childcare for 60 kids. Because we've put the option there when we don't actually have the funding for that.
That's
if we were the Ministry of Health running an event, then we could find the money for that, but we're the Impact Unconference.
Exactly. Okay, is there anything else on inclusivity that you wanted to cover? think that's pretty good.
No, just my thinking on the document itself is that the more often you can link to the original source of the information, the
Yeah.
better to do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a book of links rather than a book of rules.
Mm.
Might be
Yeah.
making more use.
I think the problem with that is that every single bit of information that I found is different to
Right.
every single other bit. So then you as a user have to go through and read 12 different documents
Yeah, right.
to get the definitive answer on what you should put in your registration form.
Yeah.
So I
Mm.
think it's actually worth, just in
Just
terms of
stating
like
what
even
you've got, right.
longevity of the document,
In that.
like actually stating
Sure, that thing there.
what to
There's water in
consider.
there.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a list of questions with check boxes next to them or something, and then linking off to the resources.
Mm,
But I'd
yeah.
love some help to actually work on that document if you want to,
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I don't know, maybe even.
and I think this is
Yeah.
this is a wonderful example of a legacy
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
can leave, because it will be useful, definitely. We saw that with the 36 comments or whatever on your LinkedIn post.
Yeah.
Like, people want to
People
know.
want that
Yeah,
list.
so that's really cool.
Yeah.
But again, we don't want it to be a distraction from the core purpose, which is we're putting on an unconference. So it can become a side project for people, but we want to be careful to,
Yeah.
keep our hands
So I'm
free.
gonna just let you know when you can.
Yeah, cool, and we can start from that together.
Yeah.
In terms of anything to do with inclusivity, that if anyone has a question about anything, I have a weird amount of stuff in my brain now, from every single different perspective I can think of. And if I don't know the answer, then I know who will know the answer. Like, Tari would be a good person to ask about anything to do with Te Ao Māori or Te Reo Māori, and Anton from FUSH has also offered to support us in that area.
Yeah.
But
And Anton said he'll even be at the beginning to do a welcome. And
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's really good.
Anton's awesome.
So we need to build that into the program, that his name is there, and we make sure it's in his diary and
But
do all that.
maybe just ask the question even if you think it's a silly question, because there might be an answer that you didn't expect. Because when I asked the question, there were answers that I didn't expect. So until I've got the document together, just ask.
Yeah.
It's hard because there's such an endless list of groups because of the nature of a community is that so you kind of start from a point of let's make sure no one's excluded,
Yeah.
right the way up to let's ensure that these people are actually encouraged to
Yeah.
come, right? So different groups, and it's because you can't, not everyone's on the same platform. It's very difficult, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So Māori, for instance, well, obviously, given the centrality of Māori to our culture, that needs to be at the top. But it's a difficult one, kind of trying to create a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best, but that's great.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, it's really
and the
good.
point is that we're actually making a real effort here.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
those of us around the table, because the question is always who's not in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And-
it's just important too when we communicate around the document once it's produced, if it becomes a legacy document, that the inclusivity document actually isn't inclusive, because it will continually evolve and there'll be
Yeah.
multiple perspectives depending on what part of a particular community or culture that you come from too. So
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
depends
That's
who
good.
the audience is for your event too.
absolutely. So it'll be one of those living documents.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
it's
think-
awesome. Keep
I
it
think,
up.
I think the general mood
Mm.
of inclusivity is what matters to people.
Yeah.
Not, hey, you haven't thought of me, but if I was to raise my hand, you would include me.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Mm.
isn't it?
Nice,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
very
And I
good.
think if we
Yeah.
thought of the key things,
Yeah.
for example, like getting the registration form right and giving people the opportunity to say, I'm going
Yeah.
to need a sign language interpreter,
Yeah.
or I'm going to need support to eat on the day, so can I ring my support worker, and do I have to buy a ticket for them too? And
Yeah.
those sorts of questions.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
practical implication is going to be if we do open up registrations
Yeah.
in the foreseeable future, we'll need to know what to put on the form.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's great. So we'll draw a line under the inclusivity piece,
Cool.
because I want to keep things moving. Can we talk a little bit about communication? And James, just as an update, we just videoed a couple of us saying a few lines, so that's now going to be worked into a video, and I'm really happy about this because I think it's going to be a quality, like that equipment was, top quality
Yeah.
equipment. It wasn't just someone with an iPhone holding it up.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what we did
That's
agree,
really good.
just for transparency and everyone knows, we put aside $1,500 in the budget for this, so that it's actually going to be, but this is going to be the centerpiece of our promotional material, so we will share it and make it known. But I think that's a good call, because last time we'd said we'll put 500 towards it, but actually for Rick and for James to be putting the amount of effort they're putting in, this would easily be a $7,000 or $8,000 production. Maybe you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so my first conversation with Rick started when I spoke to Tim Loftus and Jack, who work at Christchurch NZ, and their communications are well polished, and I just got really interested and intrigued by their production values and the sort of messaging that they're putting for Christchurch, Otatahi, and how they're doing that really well. So I spoke to Jack and Tim, and they said, well, we work with Belmont, so that's sort of where it started. And then I had a meeting with Rick, and I said, look, I really like your work. I think this is the sort of production values that I'm looking for this conference, because I feel that we need to sort of have a polished style and present ourselves in a good way, and also not just ourselves but the city and what we're trying to achieve. So then one thing led to the next, and we had this conversation, and he said, well, yeah, I'd be very happy to help, but $500 is not a realistic budget to work with. So we had a conversation back and forth, and I said, well, 1,500 is something we can, it's not a proper budget, but it's something we can work with for this sort of project. And he's very happy to provide his time and his studio, editing studio, which is in the Salt District, to edit this video. And he's very happy to participate in the conference as well as a friend, as a partner. So perhaps he'll send us his logo at some point as well.
Yeah.
So we're doing this 2 minutes 30 video, which will be a mix of a voiceover and some pieces to camera, which some of us did today, with the fundamental messaging of what is an unconference, why Christchurch, why now, and how does an unconference work in practical terms. So that's what we did today. So we talked about what you do on the first day and what happens on the second day. For example, on the first day you propose your ideas, on the second day you run the session, which is pretty much what an unconference is about. And also the first part of the video, I'll send you the updated script. The first part of the video talks about Otatahi as a special place with special people. So that's kind of merging those two ideas together. We have a video that sort of fulfills the purpose of communicating what we're about, why here, why now, and what is an unconference. So it sort of ticks all boxes, and I hope you like it when it's finished.
Yeah, so it's going to be really cool, I think, and to have that as the centerpiece of our comms will be really useful given the social media nature of the world today, because it's something that will be easily shareable and will get interest, I think, beyond. So I'm really happy about that. In terms of other comms, we have this website, so it'd be good to work through how we take the text that's there is fine, but can be upgraded. So we need to do that. And then there's a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page, and I'm happy to, if people are activated and interested, and we'll actually post and things, and it will be in line with what we're doing, then I can make other people admins. But I don't want to make you an admin and then, no one does anything. So I think that would be helpful, though, rather than just being me kind of when I have time we're having a meeting coming up, or we can take photos and here's the latest development. So
Just a few other points on comms. So we've got someone called Christopher Reed, who's based at Biz Dojo. He's got a design company, and he agreed to do a logo for us.
Right.
So this was based on a very short brief on a Facebook message. I said, can you do us a logo for this website? So I sent him the website, and we had coffee and lunch the next day, and he said, I won't have time. So he said no. But then 3 days later, he said, I had a bit of time. So this is what I did, and he sent us the logo, and then I shared it with the group.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you thought, but then he explained his process as well, like the I and the U and the N, and then the two.
Yeah, they're kind of intersecting, and
fabulous.
it's pretty. Well, we had no logo, and now we've got a logo. So I
Yeah,
think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's really good. So
I said, thank you so much to Chris, and he's a lovely person. I hope I'll introduce you to him, or you'll bump into him at some point. He's based at Biz Dojo as well in the Salt District. He's a friend of mine. So he's glad to be on board, and he's going to send us the vector files.
Great.
Black, white, transparent, so we can use them on all
So
our
is that
materials.
for the t-shirt as well, or
Possibly too late for the t-shirt.
Okay.
Because they've already like sent through the designs, and I mean we could get them printed here in New Zealand, but then we're going to have to pay like an extra $10 per t-shirt.
right?
That's a lot.
We've still got that, like, it still says Impact Unconference,
Yeah.
Tutahi, and
Yeah.
that t-shirt.
But if we get the cups, which maybe we'll get them, I don't know, for the Kathmandu, maybe we can have them on there, or we can use the logo for next year. Or
Yeah. Well, we can use the logo in social media and
Other
other
places.
places. Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah. No, it's good.
Or pins,
Yeah, we could have pins on the shirts or something. Yeah. Yep.
stickers.
There's so many options.
Laptop stickers.
Yeah, laptop stickers.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your efforts behind the scenes, meeting, doing all this, because as everyone here knows, it doesn't just appear that a video is getting made. There's a lot of work behind. So thank you very much, James, for leading that. Really appreciate it. And then, yeah, just with comms, we don't need to spend a lot of time, but the volunteers and t-shirts and things, that's kind of about comms. What number are you proposing we get? 25 or 30 of those?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess probably just need a little bit of input on that. So they're $35 per t-shirt, including GST. And that's for like a long sleeve. It's in a like orangey colour, and it's got
Yeah.
printing on the back and the front. Yeah, so basically the idea is that so every volunteer who's there on the day has a t-shirt, but then it would be kind of nice to be able to have shirts for people who have contributed a lot to the planning and who
Yeah.
aren't able to be there on the day as well. So is it 7 venues that we're spread across in the end?
It's
7,
about
8?
that, yeah, 7 or 8. It depends how, because Transitional Cathedral's there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing, we want to be visible to the participants so
Yeah.
that people go, oh, I've got a question about where's the toilets or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think we'll need to assign 2 people at least to
At least
each
2,
venue,
yeah.
so that, like Epic, for example, she said that somebody needs to actually open the door because it's a self-locking system, and on the weekends they can't just have it open. So it's an example of you're going to need somebody standing there basically all day welcoming people.
Yeah.
So if they're in a shirt, then it fits the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, immediately that's at least 20 pretty fast. So 25 feels like a good number, and then, yeah. Does that sound right? Yeah.
I'm actually not sure how many people we've got in Slack in total.
I think there's 34 the last
34,
time I checked,
okay.
yeah. But some people haven't posted or done
Yeah.
anything, so yeah. I think we will end up with lots of volunteers, but some of them maybe won't have the shirts. So just
Can we still get some of those shirts without any branding in case suddenly we have, like, that would have the same orange t-shirt but without the branding, just to make them.
Potentially, so yeah, it's just, they're not doing this special run just for us, so they are just a t-shirt that they were getting in anyway, and then they're going to get some printed for us. So there's potential to order a few extras. That wouldn't be very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, should we go with 30? Is that a
I
better
reckon 30,
number?
I'm kind of leaning
Yep.
towards 30, they can just a
Yep.
couple of extras.
If we're aiming for 300 people and
Yeah.
10% of them
Yeah,
are volunteers, it's
that's
something synergy.
Yeah, that's good, okay.
All right. So we'll go for 30.
A couple of hyenas. A couple of orange hyenas will be fine.
Yeah.
With a sticker.
Should be worth it.
Yeah. Is there anything else on comms then?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
The plan,
There's
right?
lots here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee and I spoke, I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in.
Yeah, go for it.
Lee and I spoke yesterday morning, and we both struggled to define who our audience is.
Mm-hmm.
So if the two of us are struggling to define exactly who our stakeholders are, how many others are in the same boat?
Mm.
Which got me thinking, can we actually do an exercise and who are we targeting? Who do we want there? Is it anyone? Is it everyone? I think the video will go a really long way to doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But do we all have different thought process around it? How do we map that? And then how do we take that further? How do we measure our success in actually reaching them?
Yeah.
How do we plan out our comms?
It's a great question, and we should ask it every time. And I seem to remember Dennis asked this in the first meeting, and it's still a valid question. So
Someone did post something as regards who our audience was, and I actually had a reply to give to it, which I didn't give. Does anyone remember who said it? Because it included people with not-for-profits, people coming from organisations with purpose.
I think it might have been something you posted, maybe? If we go back, it's probably back a bit.
Because that might be a good place to start, because that's the first extent.
I know I had it.
Oh, like right at the very, very start.
Well, I can't remember now. I remember seeing it, and I had a note to reply to it, but I haven't.
Yeah.
Because there's something I would like to add to it, which is identifies with the audience as well.
Okay.
I think like at a base level, it's people who are seeking purpose and want to create social and environmental impact. And that would come from a variety of places. You could be a person in an organisation who wants to do that. Like Stephen, you work for a law firm, but you're all about the impact. And you kind of do it on your own thing. And then you could be a not-for-profit who wants to do that. Or you could be a health and wellbeing organisation who wants to do that. Or a business who wants to do that.
And my thought, what I
So,
wanted to add is that
yeah.
you might belong to none of those organisations, but you wish you were.
Yeah.
So how can we attract people who belong to organisations that don't really, they're all there
Yeah.
just for profit? So we get them to come to try and influence.
Exactly, like those little purpose activated people within organisations.
Or maybe even encourage them to go somewhere else, but whatever,
Yeah, because that's the thing, like, I think we did talk a bit about that. We said that people, you have people like us who are really interested already in purpose and impact, but then they're already doing it. Our greatest impact is the people who aren't already doing it, and getting them along and getting them to create change. So really, it's more them, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's more the people
like the
that
people
aren't.
who want to learn about having purpose
Or just
and
don't know where to
impact in
start.
their role or in
I've
their
got
career.
heaps of business people that are doing business but have the potential to achieve so much more impact by understanding what an impact business is and kind of shifting the model. And so I've got heaps of people I'd love to come and be educated in terms of what impact is.
So how do you feel we could tap into them? How do you feel that we could target them?
I mean, I've got a big network. I have personal relationships with heaps of them. I provide business support to businesses, but then try to edge them along
Regional
towards.
development. They're getting so many inquiries. I know at ENC they're getting heaps of inquiries from people who want to switch their businesses into social enterprises. And it's probably not the right venue mode for a lot of them, but
They don't.
they have that.
They want to do more good, basically. So is that
They want to be purpose driven.
People
They don't
want to be
necessarily
more
want to be a
purpose-driven.
social enterprise, but they
Yeah,
want to
but
be
they don't understand the
purpose-driven
difference
and
between.
This is going to be a show.
The issue that I think we're going to have is that it's going to sell out because 300 tickets at a really reasonable price, which I think we're probably going to end up settling on. I have networks. Each of you I know has networks. The moment we post it and say limited number of tickets, if it's 200 full priced and 75 unwaged or whatever it ends up being, because I do these impact lunches, right? And basically 40 people sold out every single time. It's not that much more to a full day event for $80 or whatever.
I know
so
the ideal is when you're creating a comms plan, obviously, to list who your target stakeholders are. But because we're doing this for the first time, would it be another way of doing that be to list who our ideal participant is? Like, so who we want, and we'll get people outside of that, you always do. Even if you've listed your target stakeholders and broken them down into personas, and you always do. But who's our ideal participant?
So this is coming from way back when we first started chatting about this and looking at some other sort of, looking at what Bynor was saying and then looking at what we talked about. So I kind of put together that this unconference is for you if you're involved in or want to learn more about impact-driven organisations. You see the value in exploring new concepts and ideas to find novel solutions. You've identified at least one issue in the world around you that you already are or you'd like to play some part in addressing.
That's a good one.
You're open to collaboration and eager to stretch your mind in new directions, and you're ready to step into action and meet other people who are ready to do the same. So that's not necessarily a perfect statement, but it's kind of bringing together the ideas of what we're about.
I might add that there are people who would not be able to tick all those boxes, but they wish they could. So the notion is that we wear business clothes.
People are aspiring to.
Yes. So the notion is we wear business clothes to come to work, and so we put on a suit of armour. And not only does that change how we look, but actually allows us to differentiate between our personal values and our work values. And what we want to do is to challenge that so that we're enabling people to have their real values in their place of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is what makes the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that somebody's actually doing something for their job at their work that completely aligns with who they are as a person and what they believe in.
Yep.
That is the difference. When those
Yeah.
two things come together, that's when you achieve impact.
Yeah.
And it's the difference to your well-being as well.
Yeah, it
If you
really
work
is.
a shitty job that has no purpose.
That's
you're-
right.
You're not going to be feeling that great about life.
Can I ask a little bit about potentially a challenging question? In what ways will this unconference be different from, say, the New Zealand Social Enterprise or the World Social Enterprise Forum? Because there's a tendency to just turn to social enterprise, but impact is potentially a bit bigger than just enterprise.
Yeah.
So,
And that was, I wrote the book called Social Enterprise in New Zealand, but I
Yeah.
deliberately haven't used that terminology as much recently
Yeah.
because I think it is moving beyond
That's
just
right, isn't it?
they do it over there, those
Yeah.
social enterprise. So I think impact, that's why originally when I was thinking impact was a bigger all-encompassing word.
Yeah.
And I would like to see, so the secret is, one of the reasons for doing this unconference is to get these people around the table, because I think we are building networks and connections in a way that was way more meaningful than just, oh, hi, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And so I view this as a template that hopefully we would do a part 2 in 2021. And so let's keep that in mind as well. We're going to do a great event. It's going to be a success, but it's also building the pattern for
dual purpose,
the
isn't
next.
it?
Yeah,
the
well, for
internal
example,
one.
like we've just met, but like I knew Hannah kind of already, but we've just met, but we were like that, right? And how are we gonna make this? And we're already talking about like what's the so what.
Yeah.
You're talking about a little bit as well. So we're talking about from a learning and whatever background. How do we make sure that people then walk out the door and do something
Yeah,
like this?
and that's what I really want to focus on, is encouraging people. What does this mean for you?
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
the reason I keep doing the impact lunches is that I keep getting people saying, "Oh, I met this person
Yeah.
Yeah.
a year
It's
ago,
about relationships,
and now we've
really.
started. There's one they've started a
Relationships and
charity and they're
connections.
doing this amazing stuff. And so how do we? That's the real nub of that question: is how do we get that people in that mindset? The last session that they walk out going, I have the names of 5 people that I'm going to follow up with.
That was one of my things, is how are we going to measure our success? And
Yeah.
I think that is how we're going to measure our success, the collaboration that actually comes out of,
Yes.
not just on the day of.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
people who join forces afterwards, who stay in touch regularly afterwards,
Mm.
and who work together afterwards, or recommend but collaborate afterwards.
Yeah, which is why I like the app thing, because apparently you can use it afterwards.
Yeah,
you can still
yeah.
message with people.
And maybe think about capturing stories afterwards. We gotta reach out to people. Who did you meet? What did you do? So
Yeah.
we use that from a learning perspective, but we also use it from a capturing your story. So what did you do? And so it reminds people, prods them, but also then we get hopefully to capture some of those stories as well.
I think enterprise is so important in achieving impact, but I think impact isn't limited to enterprise as well.
No.
Also like individual level.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So for someone who attends and walks away saying, you know what, when I buy things, I want to,
Yes.
social procurement
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
That's impact as well, even though it's not like at an organisational level. So, the Social Enterprise World Forum was very much at an organisational level and trying to build capacity, and but I think everybody who comes to this, we want in their own way to understand what impact is, and like you said, hey, I'm walking away from this and I understand how I can.
There's
Exactly.
no boundaries with impact.
Yeah.
It's out there.
And that's why I
no
still love the
parameters.
idea that we get at the very end, people write a letter to themselves,
Yeah, that is cool.
dear
Yeah.
6 months away from now self or whatever.
Is there any
Go on.
is there any plan to reach out to them a few months later to try to see if there has been any impact of the unconference?
I think that's what you do. So if you get them to write the letter at the end of the conference to themselves, ideally that's electronic somehow. So when we can send it electronically rather than by mail. But you then put the ask in there for them to reply and say like, tell us what you're doing now. Like, how does this change you, or what do you want
Yeah.
to do? And you
What's
only
what's
get
happened
20
since?
replies.
Yeah.
But what you could also do is we could build a quick survey into the app, so that people, do the survey, like a 2-minute survey they do on them, or maybe on the Friday night or something in the app. So we've all got the app, do this survey, 4 questions about, do you know what impact is, blah, blah, just whatever they are, and then do similar survey at the end. So then you've got a short-term outcome measurement, and then 6 months down the line you have a survey or whatever as well, where it's share the stories and here's what you said and this kind of stuff, and then you get a more of a medium, and if they come back the following year, so that you've got short, medium, you get different measures then.
I think the fact that we're even having this discussion means that we're going beyond what most events do.
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
agree.
events don't even bother going beyond the feedback that they get from people, and 9 out of 10 people said it was a great event to attend the end, and then off
That's
you go.
where
Yeah.
the impact
So I
is.
think anything that we do that goes beyond that is going to be really great practice.
So Stella and I are catching up after this, so
Yeah.
we maybe come.
Well, if it's
put
okay,
together
I would
some
love,
sort of
if it's
strategy
okay,
proposal.
yeah, I'd love to delegate it to people who want
We're
to
like,
run with it,
yeah.
and just feel free. Again, don't feel like you have to do everything in the world that's ever possible, because this
I
also
think
could
about
become a
options
distraction.
too, like.
Yeah, but definitely, that's
I
awesome.
delegate.
If we go for it.
Just
Yeah.
2:45, if you want
Yes.
to set the registration fees, we need to move on to
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
so sorry.
That's right.
In terms of comms too, we do have a couple more things to cover. So stakeholder map, we've kind of got
I think we've kind of covered
a
that.
broad kind of
And that's okay.
yeah. In terms of, because I'm not a comms person and Sal's not a comms person either, but we're trying to kind of cobble together a bit of a plan, and I go big picture to go down into the details. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to have a look at the draft thing that I've put up there, but it's just got some kind of big picture deliverables basically, and then the comms component that would have action component for that. And so part of that is to get absolute clarity around roles and responsibilities, and because I'm not a comms person, so I'm not a comms person, it's just, having that support and understanding the network of who actually will be on the ground, if we've created a plan, who's actually going to be doing. Who's got the networks, who knows how to tap into X and Y and what channels we're using, because I've got...
Well, this is the next
it's not
stage,
my-
I
it's
think,
not
is
my
the
thing.
actual practical reality, is who's going to be where, and who's going to do the initial this and this and this, and who's going to print the whatever we need. But I don't want to go into all that
and is there a
now.
budget for it too, is another component to that.
Which bit?
Well,
So there
comms.
was a small amount in the budget.
There's a small amount in the budget for social media, I think I saw.
It was was it 250?
250.
Yeah, and that comes from a comment from Stephen's regards, should we put something in there? So, well, that's part of the thing that we'll go through, deciding how much we can put in there.
Yeah, I would like to keep things moving, and comms, I think you have full power to create and come back, because I think we're going to be meeting relatively regularly, like probably every 2 weeks or something. But I don't think it would be a good use of our time now to go into all the detail, because I want to get a number.
And from a comms perspective, make your planning simple and short, and your execution really well thought out and good. So spend less time on planning, more time on execution. If you're doing a pro bono event, because you can't afford to put tons and tons of time into the planning and the strategy side of things. And if you can get a dedicated person to run each channel, even better. Yeah.
Cool.
Alright, so can we move on to the budget? And Dennis, do you want to speak to it? And before we do that, thank you so much, because it looks really good.
Hope it should work, but just the first thing to note is that in doing a budget, most budgets are regards how you can make money, but of course what we're doing is we're trying to give the value to people who come. So we are therefore not constrained by picking the target price and maximising people to come through. I think there's a relative amount of confidence that we'll fill the conference. So really basically it's a simple cost plus exercise. What do we want to do? Do you want to spend this much money or this much money? And then the outcome of that is that determines the registration fee. So that quite makes it a lot more simple exercise. And the first thing I've identified is refreshments, food, drinks, snacks and meals. Do we want minimalist, or do we want to provide experience, or something else? And that's really a choice that we can make here. Maybe someone would like to speak to one of those three options, and then someone speak to another one, and then we can sort of have some sort of a consensus or compromise of what we think would be the best way of doing it. Does anyone think that the...
Well, I think Ridges have, is it $12 per person for the opening night?
Yes.
That was what I saw from Kelly.
Yep.
And that was
one catering item, which I didn't understand.
Well, yeah,
What does that mean?
ridiculous.
Is it like one little pie?
Yeah, it's
or-
like the
Okay.
biscuits and
Plus a couple of
yeah,
tea.
and they're not that nice.
It seems very, very steep to me, but
Yeah.
equally I don't know how you get around that because it's an evening event after work, people are going to be hungry.
And
Yeah.
you've got this.
Yeah, I think they can open up a bar or a cash
Yeah.
place as well
Yeah.
in that level.
Yeah.
Mm.
It just seemed that as a proportion of the
Yeah,
entire ticket price,
absolutely, I agree.
$12 for
Yeah.
that one night,
Yeah.
Yeah.
compared to when we have a
One
whole day
piece.
of stuff the next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, well, I've always felt like the goodie bag idea or things on the table was a good one.
Yeah.
Because then we don't have to spend the high cost.
Yeah, I mean, that option, we could put everything into the goodie bag and then just provide tea and coffee through the rest of the day. And then links to the local cafes, etc. That would be a minimalist way of doing it.
Yeah, I prefer the minimalist way. I want to keep it simple. Keep
I
it simple,
like
stupid.
minimalist because it means that people are actually engaging with Salt District and City, so it's not just about staying at the conference.
And it's
Yeah.
also not
And you know what?
creating stuff,
And we
you know,
spell it
stuff
out.
that you just...
Yeah.
We spell it out that that's not what we're about. You know, we're not like other conferences.
We're about
Yeah.
You know, let's get really clear that we are not like other conferences. So we will do things differently, and expectations are different.
Yeah.
Like play on that, I think.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to explain why we're so like cheap or like affordable
Yeah,
as well. And it's like
yeah.
it's because we're not
Maybe that's
we're not
part
like
of our
shiny and
problems.
fancy. We're not gonna have like a 3-course meal. You're gonna you're gonna be out in the
This
city,
is-
you're gonna be experiencing
And
it.
sustainability, we're not going to give you useless shit.
This
Like
is about-
And
Yeah.
we're talking about collaboration.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for people to be self-managing and then
Yeah.
sharing with others.
Yeah.
So we're not looking for people to be entertained to give you this experience. We want them to produce it themselves. So I think minimalist makes sense to me.
Yeah.
We need to
And-
walk the walk,
Yeah.
not just talk the
And
talk.
we don't have to decide for the budget
Yeah.
exactly what we do, but what we do need to do is to set some sort of an overall figure, which could be
Yeah.
like $15 a head or $20 a head, then worry about it afterwards as regards how we divvy it up within the experiences, and maybe we go for the Ridges thing, maybe it's a bit minimalist, not a good food, so we might do
Yeah.
something else. So
Yeah.
I would suggest that we just set a number per person.
Yeah, I agree. You've got a number in mind?
Yeah, the question with the ridges is I'm not sure if this has been answered, but would we be able to just provide our own?
Yeah, the answer is that they said it would be fine if there was things on the table. That's
Okay.
my understanding from Kelly, is
Okay,
that
cool.
they were okay with that.
Yeah.
So if we got like the, is it the Brothers Green, the hemp bars or something? They had something at your event that I went to. So I've written to Jacob at Ministry of Awesome because he knows them really well, but you probably know them too. But anyway, the point is we could get people. I wrote to Bailey as well at Cultivate Christchurch because I thought maybe he could bring some veggies and, have some snack type things at the venues.
So if we set a figure, we've got the goodie bag, gift bag is $10. So if I add everything up, it's $22.50. If we set a figure, say $20 a head,
Can we just go back to the goodie bag? Is there actually any need for a bag of stuff if we're just going to have food at each venue?
this could be some of the food we're going to have at each venue. So it's what we provide on the tables and what we
Yeah.
actually put in the bag. And I don't think it really matters. We don't need to decide that right now. But what we do need to decide is what figure we can put as a total in the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the term gift
The
bag is more
minimum-
about
the
the
minimal
stuff
figure.
that you're giving.
It's the minimal.
Yeah.
So if I suggest $20 per person,
Mhm.
that's taking $2.50 off. That'll just make it. We've got to make sure we cover things. So $20 per head, and we can spend it all in the first go, or
Yeah.
we can split it through, or we can spend it all in the end.
Yeah.
And that will be up to how we decide how we want to manage
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but I think the answer generally I'm feeling is it's a minimalist vibe,
Yes.
and we want to keep it simple.
We
So
could
the
even ask
$12
people to
for
bring their
Ridges.
reusable-
Yeah.
Like ask them to bring
Yeah.
their own reusable bag and they can just put their own stuff in their own bag, so we're not
Yeah.
giving them some.
Yeah, I went to a
extra
conference
thing.
recently where there was just some things in a corner and you could
Yeah.
go and select if you wanted it rather than
Yeah.
here's your bag,
Yeah.
which saves on work as well of
Okay.
putting everything in the bags.
This might be too much detail, but if there's stuff left over, can we just plan for what to do with that? I.e. we donate it to who? To the City Mission or to Cairo or somewhere else?
Yeah.
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 And the other part of
That's
that
a good
is
idea.
actually what negotiation can we do with the local cafes for providing discounts for people who can come?
Yeah.
That's been talked about before, so we don't need to put that in the budget, but that's.
Yeah, and I think
something
Laura is talking with them,
Yes.
particularly
Oh,
Little
something.
High
Oh.
area.
Okay,
So that's underway, and C1 as well. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just, we just work our way through, so when we look at the Attentify app, that's a fixed $1,500.
Mhm.
The video production's $1,500.
Mhm.
We've now got a figure for Yellowbird t-shirts. It's now
Yeah, 30 of them.
1,035.
Yeah.
I've got $250 in there for supplies and stationery. We're going to have any supplies and stationery?
Well,
Why do we need stationery?
Or do we need posters? Do we need promotional posters?
mm,
I would say maybe we launch it, right? We assume it's probably going to sell out. We don't print any like
Until we
posters
know.
and stuff until it's if for any reason it's not going well, then we branch out to the print stuff.
Mm.
But then we still need to identify what we might do.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
here.
of course.
So
Mm.
if we're printing things, how much would it cost to print for what we want to do?
yeah.
Posters?
So you're talking about like at the venue having a little thing up.
Yeah.
So the person stands up and says, "Welcome to the Impact Unconference," and there's a pretty looking flag type thing.
So once again, it doesn't have to be accurate, but $250. Can anyone imagine spending more than that?
I have no idea what one of those.
Yeah,
No.
if you want those pull-up banner things, you'd be spending more than $250.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do we
they
want
were-
those pull-up banner things?
I don't, but
I don't think we need.
No,
Use projectors.
I don't think so
I prefer
either.
digital.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we keep it simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's our mantras.
And we can put the program up on
for
the screen.
inclusivity though,
Yeah.
something tangible is quite good for
Mhm.
people who, for whatever reason, don't have an app or can't navigate an
Can
app
we-
particularly.
Well, we'll have a
A3
screen.
So
We can
A3
project
colour-
images.
A3
onto
colour
each of the venues
styles.
though,
I see your point there. Someone might like a paper printed something
Yeah.
because they can't handle a phone.
and a map or, you
Yeah.
know, something that's got something physical to say this is where session 3 is.
Program.
Okay, so without
Yeah.
deciding what we do need or don't need, what kind of money do you think we need to spend? 250, 500?
Why don't we
think-
put 500?
Yeah,
Just because it's in the budget.
Just
doesn't mean it has to be
because-
spent.
Exactly.
yeah.
What we don't want to be caught the other way around. Are we going to have any speaker expenses?
I think they're all going to be locals. The only person I've reached out to is Michelle Sharp,
Mhm.
because I thought she'd be a great lightning speaker on the Friday night,
Yeah.
but I haven't reached out to any others at this point.
Okay.
But
So
I
what
wouldn't
do
be
we
saying,
gift-
I wouldn't be
gift for them?
saying, you know,
I mean, there might be some costs rather than payments. So
Yeah.
we might need to travel.
my gut feeling is the people we're asking would be doing it for free rather than getting a payment.
That's
What do
fine.
other people think?
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you believe in
Should
what
we
we're
put
doing here?
some-
If you do,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
surely you want to come
Should
and
we
take
put
part.
some money there for like a koha thank you for them though? In terms of, because that would be a speaker
Block of
cost.
chocolate.
Or something, yeah, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. Something local, like there from Riverside Market, you know,
A
local.
little something.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we put in how much? 100?
How many people?
Yeah.
100.
$5 each, $10 each.
So
How many
$100
speakers?
We're going to call it,
Yeah. Speaker,
Koha.
Koha, speakers.
although someone did that lovely little article on Koha, where we're using it incorrectly.
Yeah, that was Briar, yeah. She wrote something
So I've
about,
actually changed
Oh.
it here, donations rather than Koha.
yeah. Yeah, she said that, well, that's another PhD thesis. I'm sure that's the cultural wording of
Okay.
Koha.
So
Exchange.
next
What-
one,
yeah.
communications
It's a
of
gift.
Facebook allocation, $250. Do we want anything more than that?
So
are
that's
there-
to sponsor some of the posts,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or is it going to be ongoing video production costs? I mean, we've got all this up front. Are we going to do anything actually in the conference itself?
We've got James.
James is willing to do it for free, he's
Free?
told us, yeah.
Okay, so
And I'll-
Facebook allocation, $250.
Yeah, that's been said.
Plenty.
That sounds good.
I've got insurance. I mean, I had this interesting discussion with the broker. It was not a broker, it was actually an insurance company that just do events.
Yeah.
And he was actually very polite to me. He basically in the end said, "Oh, actually, you don't need any insurance. Just
If your
do it-
venues have it.
do it another organisation's umbrella.
Yeah.
And don't take out specific insurance for it. It'll be too expensive. So maybe we're talking a couple $100. but if we've got another umbrella organisation, it might not cost us anything.
Yeah.
So I just put $250.
Yeah, so Laura's said that SALT does have public liability insurance. I think she said up to $5 million cover.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't mind having a small allocation just in case.
Yeah.
It's,
You can
yeah.
substitute that one.
Yeah.
And he was adamant that there is no risk. If we were 90 people from venue to a venue, then we'd have liability. But because we're self-moving, that's all fine.
Yeah.
And then as long as all the buildings that we're in have got their own insurance, then his comment to us was, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
It's good to hear from someone whose job is to make money.
So just to get clarity on that, so we shouldn't be having volunteers walking people between different, okay, cool.
Because then we own them, right?
Sorry?
Then we own them.
Yeah.
They can take responsibility for themselves.
So just point them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That way.
Somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Look on Google Maps.
So I've got a composite figure of gift bags, we can ignore that. Name badges, are we going to bring our own?
Are they
Do we need
for
to find it?
attendees or who are they for?
I think
Or
Anthea has a template, doesn't she? Anthea Medal. Did anybody else see that in the Slack channel?
Yeah,
It's
there's
a new.
template, like a kia ora, and then my pronoun is
Oh,
on
yeah,
it
yeah.
as well.
You could
But I
put the
guess it
logo
needs
on
to be
Print on
printed
stickers.
or, yeah.
The logo on it, is it?
So it'll be a sticky rather than,
We,
Or we use
we
it.
could just have a generic sticker and you write your name on it. Like a kia ora, my pronoun
Okay.
is, you can write your name on it.
Yeah.
Although would that last 2 days?
well, maybe they could do another one the next
Yeah.
day. So we actually, what we're
Print
providing,
stickers.
we're providing stickers and a pen. So I'm suggesting 25 cents
Yep.
per sticker, and that's got
It's
to be
matters,
Yeah.
yeah, if it's
It
for
seems fine.
stickers.
Yeah.
Registration fee. So Humanitix, I saw that they're waiving fees,
Mhm.
or that maybe they're reducing cost. Is it actually, will it be zero, no cost for us?
That's my last with Georgia. That's what she was saying, but I should probably double check what the
Okay.
email said. I can do that if you
Because I
want.
got $5, which is way too high, because especially if it's going to be waived cost, it's actually zero.
Yeah.
So
When
hopefully-
I've used it for voluntary things, it's free. I just haven't fit. I'm not sure when it's a paid ticket.
Yeah, I'm
What is it
pretty
for
sure.
the-
No,
yeah,
she
okay,
told
fine.
me it would be free because
Yeah.
they believe they're one of the supporters and they
Yeah.
believe in what we're
Okay.
doing. So
I'm
I
putting
think
in zero, that's
Yeah.
reducing, that's taking $1,500 out of cost, which
Yeah.
is quite
that's
good.
great. That reminds me, just as a complete aside, but we've got Humanitics logo up there, and when you're talking with people and they're supporting, if you can get their logos, we can put them on the website
Yeah.
to say thank you, like video production and other people. So, yep. Okay.
Okay, so Regis, we've got the $1,200 cost, there's no venue setup costs.
Yep.
I've got in $5 to reception, but that, once again, it's the aggregate figure that's important, and no other expenses. So
Mhm.
that's fine. Vodafone, no costs?
Yeah, he confirmed that he's going to absorb all the costs.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Epic want to charge $250?
Yeah, well, actually, normally they charge $750, and I said I'd like to recognize that you're providing this on a Saturday and you're giving your entire day to do this. So that's Wendy at Epic. So I'm the one who said I'd like to contribute $250 because we really appreciate this. Because they can seat up to 100, I think.
Yes, I've got that,
Um,
vacancy at 100.
So it's
And just as an aside, well, not aside, what I've put in there is that in the 6 venues during the day, I've just put in rough percentage calculations to work out how many people could come to each, but it doesn't matter if I've doubled them
Yeah.
or halved them. The main thing is it just allocates that they
Yeah.
go to different venues throughout the day.
Yeah.
Hey, just a question, audio visual support
Mhm.
for each of the venues, does it exist? Are we having to pay for that as part of, is it included as part of the cost for each of the venues?
Mhm.
Are we doing our own thing and it's going to be so minimalist that it's just a matter of plugging in a laptop? Does anybody have any?
The ones that I've spoken to, it's been available,
Yeah.
but it's always worth double checking.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I need support with, or we all need support with, is allocating somebody to be responsible for liaising with each of them,
Yeah.
because it's draining my energy to be talking with Vodafone and Epic and Ara. And, I need somebody to say, I'll be the Epic contact person, or I'll be the Biz Dojo, or you're Biz Dojo. But that person needs to confirm, is there an extra cost? But my understanding is no. Also, the unconferences I've been to, because you pitched the idea the night before, it's not like you have lots of slides or something.
Yeah.
So usually it's just standing up and saying, hey, I want to talk about the SDGs and how we're going to achieve them by 2030 or whatever it is, rather than here's my slide number 7.
How are we going to
So
do that?
I'm not too worried about that. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be okay.
Just a microphone that works, maybe.
Yeah, microphones are fine,
Yeah.
all of them.
I mean, depending how small it is, there could be 10 people in a room, right?
It's possible,
Well,
yeah.
one way we could do
I
this
like the
is
idea of that.
because if we assume the majority of people don't need any AV, what we could do is the person who's the point person for each of the venues
Yeah.
could then have what's available for them. So maybe, look, you need to bring your own laptop, but there is a projector there.
Yeah.
And then that will determine who actually looks after who goes to which venue for their session.
Yeah.
But I agree, it needs someone to volunteer to take on one of the venues each.
That's right.
We may have people with unusual or innovative or original propositions. For example, we could have a botanist who comes up and says, I want to take you on a tour in the botanical gardens tomorrow.
Yes.
Mm.
And then we need to sort of, imagine how that might be, included. It could be something completely different. It could be, I'll go and show you the basilica, the ruins, and we'll go and have a look at Christchurch and talk about architecture and design and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be outdoors as well.
Yep.
Just the thought.
Yeah, that's true.
Perfect, yeah.
Just threw the cat among the pigeons
Um,
there, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. Who wants to go to the beach?
So Biz Doja,
That's Winnie.
they've got $350.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
got $350.
And again, that's a discounted rate because Jesse's a member of, yeah, yeah.
Ara have got no charge.
That's my understanding, yeah.
The Loft have got no charge. Transitional Cathedral have got no charge, although.
Yeah, they would like if we can give them a copad or a donation. Are you allocating any for that, or is that just going to be whatever's left over?
Oh, well, that's what we want to make sure that there is something left over at the end.
Yeah.
Rather than put it in that particular line. But so that completes that, and that's currently showing with a 10% contingency that will make a surplus with 300 people of $815.
Mhm.
Okay.
So just to clarify, so we're taking off the
Big bill.
$12 per person at the bridges. We just have to communicate that back to Kelly, isn't it? Who's-
Mm.
I think, yes, I think no one's jumping up and down saying that's a good deal, so.
But
No,
then
that's
maybe-
right.
Like a terrible deal. If we can provide our own.
Do we want to pay if there's a small cost in getting the bar so people can buy their own refreshments?
Well, I think the cash bar they'll make it available.
Yeah.
I
So
think
that's
the last message she said though was that if we had the $12 per person, then they'd throw in the bar.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, so it's only if we do that.
Oh, terms and conditions apply.
Yeah.
It's in their best interest though, hey, just to put a
Yeah,
bar
you would have
staff
thought
on,
so.
otherwise they could potentially
This is
miss
just
out on
quite
quite a lot.
isn't it?
That's
So-
right.
Yeah. Otherwise
People are
they
going
get
to
no
have a
people
drink.
buying BVs.
It might be a bit condition of their licence though, that they must serve food if
Food,
they've got the
yes,
bar
yeah.
open.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's possible. I think there is a bar downstairs as well, so people could go down there if it's not open.
Well, currently we can still do that $12 deal.
Yeah.
If we've got $20 per head, that'll be not very much left for
Could we
anything
put
else.
it in the
Yeah.
budget subject to confirming with Ridges the condition of the bar?
An extra $12.50 or include it in the $20.
I think if we've got $20 per person for like food / gift bags / whatever we're giving them, I think that's ample, right?
Yeah. Bearing in mind that if we do go with the Ridges deal, that's more than half gone in one go,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it could be just we go the $12 head, then we're just providing tea and coffee for everything else, with maybe a few other little bits
Mm.
thrown in.
Mm.
Okay, so just going through the notes down the bottom, so the organisational status, so Stephen, did you talk to
Mm.
SALT about them being the umbrella organisation?
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
have
they're
their
fine. Yeah, they're happy. They said this is exactly why we set up, is to
Okay.
do this type of event. So they're actually like, we don't have to organize it, but we get it's awesome for them.
So then, so it would be checking with their insurance.
Yeah.
Do you want, I can do that if you want me to.
Yeah. Well, should I put you in touch with Laura?
Yeah.
But that's the latest I'd heard is that they do have insurance. That was this morning. She wrote to me.
And okay, so I can follow up on that.
Yeah.
So that,
So I'll reply to her and copy you in.
and I've got any consideration for payment consideration is a polite way of saying money.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be money, but consideration.
Yeah.
Cathedral, wasn't there?
Um,
Okay.
So insurance, and then basically, it could cost us $200. So maybe one of the things that we offer as SALT is $200 to cover insurance.
Something like that.
I've asked a question. Do we need all 6 venues for the 6 Saturdays? Any reason why we, there's not cost savings we've done?
Take a photo of that.
But
Yeah.
I guess we don't have to use them all if we don't have the sessions pop up.
Yeah.
But we don't have them
I mean,
already.
ARA itself is actually 3 different venues. So there's 3 different classrooms. So we've got multiple. Yeah, it's yeah.
So how many does that bring together altogether then? If there's
Well, I
3
guess add another
at ARA?
3.
Dennis, you've done an awful
But
job.
the next stage we need to allocate the venue to the topic and do a bit more work on that.
Should we do that beforehand, or will we do that after we see how many people want to go to each session on the Friday?
Yeah, maybe. The transitional cathedral is going to be the biggest venue. So I was thinking that for the stream, which we're going to ask people to speak in, including possibly us about how to create an unconference, that would make sense that was the transitional cathedral if that's the biggest venue. But I guess it could be Vodafone or...
But
yeah.
I'm actually the point person, so like if you know about association, so on Friday night when we've got the sessions, then the discussion will be within the people who's looking after the different venues and say, oh, this would work well with mine, but
Yeah.
this one wouldn't. And that may be the way of doing it. So it's having an understanding of what facilities and equipment is available and
Yeah.
what would be the most appropriate for the kind of sessions that are going to be had.
Yeah.
So the next thing we've got down there is payments. So who's making the payments? So SALT, are they our banker?
Yeah, they're our banker. They're working with Pledge Me,
Right.
who've done this before. So Laura was catching up with Jess about that.
So we'll be sending them our costs, and they'll be getting the money as income, and then we'll be doing a wash up.
Well, the money's going to go into a SALT account, which is set up for the Sun Conference.
Okay.
So it'll be a sub account at their end.
But
So
name
the
was-
Humanitics site will be in the name of SALT, like the registration, so that when we click I'm coming, the money will go to
So
them.
does this include GST registration?
What?
So for paying expenses?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not sure we do want GST because
Do
all
I have
income,
to register the web?
well, we don't have to be, but if it's
No.
going through SALT, they'll have to do it, they do it in their own name under that GST?
That's my understanding, but
Okay.
we should double check.
I'll check for that.
Yeah.
So payments in advance, like Yellowbird wants money up front, so that means that we need to get money in to be able to pay them.
Yeah.
And the SALT are going to be our banker and give us an overdraft. And
Yeah.
one way of doing that will be asking for early registrations.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
on that little Yellowbird have asked for 50% on invoicing, so that's basically when we confirm the order, which
Right.
is this week.
Right.
So that's about $500. I'm sure they'll be able to be a little bit flexible, but
Yeah.
based on their perspective, they need to
Yeah,
know
so the
that-
issue is going to be Humanitics pays the money after the event, I think.
Yes.
So that will be our issue.
Okay.
At least that's how it works with the lunches.
Yeah.
Alright.
So they're going to manage receipts and payments, and then there's the conference underwriting.
Yeah, so I've always planned to underwrite it in terms of if there was a loss, then, like this is obviously something I've thought of for a while and no problem with that.
Can I go back to the t-shirts? Can I ask, are we paying our own? Like, are we going to keep the t-shirts afterwards? 'Cause
I think that's the
thinking out there,
intention.
I would be quite happy paying for my own and then keep it.
Yeah. Well, that raises another slight question I had, which is we've allocated 200 for full fee. So us as a people organizing, are we paying?
Yeah.
I think that we probably would pay, but it's kind of, I'm open to that discussion because it's kind of like we've put a lot of work into this thing and that we pay. Normally organizing committees, in my experience, don't pay to go, but that's going to screw up the numbers here.
And if we are on the door all day, we're not going to participate.
That's right.
Well, we'll host a session, you said, about running an on-conference, right?
Mm.
That's one of the sessions we're going to, hypothetically, one of us is going to say, hey, all right, tomorrow I'll, maybe you.
Yeah.
You're going to say,
No,
how to organize an on-conference, and that will be your session, right? So technically you'll be participating. I mean, you won't be on the door. Some of us might.
Yeah.
Yeah, bugger this, I'm going to pull it now so I can take part. I'll pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pay and go, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we want to do all three. Hey, pay for the T-shirt, pay for the registration, and then
Not go.
spend the entire time volunteering.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think it would be reasonable to get a free T-shirt, and then on half the sessions I can go to, and half I'm actually helping sort
Yeah.
things out.
You've got to split
so
it up.
it kind of works out
Mhm.
that kind of a way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can't do it all.
Because
Roster.
realistically,
Yeah, I
pretty
agree.
much-
It's just right now
Yeah.
it's not allocated here.
Yeah.
And maybe what we need to do is say there's 300 tickets total, but there's 30 tickets in addition
Yeah.
for volunteers, which are $0.
Yeah.
I'd be really comfortable with that. So then we end up with a number like 330, but 300 paying
Yep.
in some
I think
way.
that's fair. I mean, we
Yeah.
volunteer for TEDx.
Yeah,
You know, we got
you
our
don't have to
t-shirt,
pay to.
You know, we went to half the sessions,
Yep.
Mm.
but like still did our fair share of graft.
Okay, so that still doesn't solve the problem. How are we going to get things paid if we don't get money from Humanitix? What to the very end?
Mhm.
Because we've got, $10,000-$15,000 of expenses.
How does
Mhm.
this system work? Can you talk to them about releasing part of it? Or is it-
Yeah, well, I'll talk with Georgia.
Yeah, and if you
Yeah.
did it if it's conditional on the sales of tickets, then could you not do the volunteers ones as a ticket cost of the T-shirt, and then once that quota's gone, just for example, once that quota's gone, it's finished, isn't it? Or it's sold, so therefore they're going to release the funds and they're available to pay for the. I don't know, like thinking of it
I think
right.
it's for like ticketing companies, they also have to cover their own liability if the event gets cancelled.
Oh, okay, so
So
that's
that's why they
the way
don't
it's
always release the money beforehand, yeah, if they have to do refunds and things like that, so.
So how far away are we from having tickets released, realistically?
Well, I was hoping to get the numbers sorted, get the budget done, and then like in the next 10 days, make it live. Because then we'll know really quickly, like,
If we're a gore or not.
yeah, if we sell 5 tickets and as opposed to 200 tickets in the first, you know.
So what are the upfront costs that need to be paid for in the short term?
Well, technically, all the costs would need to be paid before we get any money. Because,
Oh.
because they're not going to release the money till after the conference. So therefore, we've got
3 months.
$10,000 of expenses and no income until after the conference.
Mm.
Now, probably some of it's not so much a bit of an issue, it's a small timing thing, but the more things we have to pay up front, the more of an issue it's going to be.
Yeah.
Who's got a good credit
So-
rating?
So
Down to instant finance.
So I'll talk with Georgia after this
20%
and work
interest.
out, because they must deal with this in other situations. But also, you know, I was always planning to underwrite it in the sense of if it was needed. So it's okay. There will be a way through this. So
Okay.
don't worry too much.
Okay.
But
Shake your bucket on the street.
I mean, technically we're an unincorporated group, so currently we're all jointly responsible for this.
I wasn't here.
But, you know, as long as we're aware of that and we know the risks, then I think that's okay. I'm comfortable with that.
Mhm.
But I do appreciate that, I mean, I haven't got $10,000 spare to put up and to pay for things before any money comes in, so.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway,
So you and I can talk afterwards, and I'll talk with Georgia as well. And
Okay.
we'll work out where we're at.
So, I mean, I've got down here the health and safety plan, but that's not going to cost anything. I've got an email back from Sharon McCullough from Waste Without Waste, and she's got a list of things that she could do. I started off by telling her about the conference and saying, you know, maybe you've got some advice, maybe there's some documentation you could provide, or maybe there's a level of service. Well, she's come back with a level of service. Now, it would be hundreds of dollars. Not enough time to decide whether we want to go that route here or not, I mean, but I'll send the email around so you can see the kind of things that a waste professional would do to ensure that this is done well.
It's good.
And then I've got a 10% contingency of costs. And the last thing to do really is, well, how many people do you think we need to come? So this model's got 300, being 200 paying a full fee, 75 being unwaged, and 25 in terms of donation. And that breaks even with a
Mhm.
contingency left over of $1,300.
Yeah, so what do people think of that number. Maybe this is the last thing we'll do at this meeting as well, just so everyone knows. Like 65, it's still a pretty reasonable price. So are we selling ourselves short? Should we, because there are going to be more things that we haven't thought of, and this is our first time doing it. Should we be putting it at what, 75 or 85 or something?
I think it's also, it's a bit of a proof of concept though.
Yeah.
This time around, I think if we really do this well this time, next time you could really put it up because
Yeah.
people know the value that they're going to get from it.
Yeah.
But I know going out to my stakeholders, at least, I'm telling them to come along. It's a bit of a punt.
Yeah.
Right. It's a kind of a bit of faith there, leap of faith, a little bit. So I think it's all right.
$65
65?
fee for?
Yeah.
That's for the fully
Top level.
waged. You want
Okay.
to come.
Highest price.
That's cheap.
That's the
I think,
highest
you know,
price.
What would a one-day conference cost, or 1.5? Would it be $300, $500?
1,500.
Well, it depends on the charity.
It depends what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, the charity one, I think
Yeah.
it's $495 or something,
$495 for 2 days.
$450.
So it's 2 days. So okay, you can pay over $1,000, but I'm thinking an equivalent conference, I've got in my figures $300 to $500 would be the cost.
Mhm.
And so, you know, if you want to talk about economics, elasticity, I mean, we charge $65 or $100, we wouldn't lose anyone.
Yeah.
So the
No.
only reason we want
Yeah.
to charge the lower figure is because we want to give the value to the attendees.
Mhm.
And so if you wanted to pick a marketing number, you'd go for $95
Yeah.
because it's less than $100.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that we're talking about breaking even, which is good, but also if we did want to do this next year, it would be nice to have some money in the pot to fund the
At
next year.
$95, we would make a profit, and we could, we could do our donations to the Transitional Cathedral
Yeah.
and have some money left over for next year.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to consider is they're also going to have to spend some money probably on Friday and Saturday as well. You know,
That's true.
some of the conferences where you spend over $1,000 normally sometimes
Get
get
nice
breakfast
food
and
and-
then you get
It's catered
lunch
all
and
day.
it's catered all day. Where now it's probably not going to be much and they get to choose what they want.
Yeah.
But
How does it work if you can't pay $95? Like,
Yeah.
What's the $10 donation? And what are the parameters
Well,
around
that was named Cohort. That was just so people, if they feel as if they're unable to pay, you can still come, just make a donation.
Right.
And I'll put a figure of $10 as the
Okay.
minimum
So can
donation.
I ask the practicalities around that? If somebody decides they can't pay, how do we get them a ticket? How do we not oversubscribe to that?
So on Humanitics, you can have different ticket types, and so
Yeah.
you can have a set number of each ticket
Thanks
type.
so much.
and
We,
then-
we rely
Yeah,
on that.
thanks.
today, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Check it out this
Okay.
week.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for getting the video out. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
brilliant.
Thanks for participating.
Yeah. See ya.
So, I mean, my feeling is just having looked at it all and thought about it more, if we went for, say, 85,
Which is the number
Would-
I've actually put in there right now.
right,
So,
would that just sort of,
Gives a bit of breathing space.
yeah, give us some breathing space and then,
On those numbers, it produces a profit of around about $5,000.
right,
Pretty close to it.
yeah.
So you
then we could
had-
do 1,000 to the cathedral to say thank you,
Yeah.
and still have 4,000 to fund the next year, if
And
that's,
anything else that comes up.
yeah. And, yeah, much more for contingency, for things that we
Yeah.
haven't thought through that
And
we will
25.
need.
But the
More
donation
food and
that-
refreshments, things like that.
Yeah.
So if
Is
it's
that okay?
a full fee, what would unwaged be?
Can I just
25.
pitch, sorry.
25
Can I
is
just
good.
pitch a complication to that? If we're making a profit of that, then that opens up a tax implication.
I think it's more of an accounting question, so we'll have to ask somebody,
Yeah.
but I think it would be held over for the next time it was run, so it wouldn't have an implication.
Well, as
Well, I know, and
an unincorporated group, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and
Well, it's not, we're the hands of this group, but SALT Collective, a registered charitable trust, which is tax exempt,
Cool.
is
Okay,
the
yeah,
entity.
that
So
one.
that was the
Yeah.
point of
Yeah.
having them come in,
Yeah.
rather than us setting up a new
Well,
entity.
sounds good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think $85 waged and $25 unwaged would be
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, I think leave the unwaged
Yeah.
and donation the same, but
Mm.
$20 to someone who's waged isn't a massive amount and it's still a lot of value.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to put that up, but I think leave the others.
did we talk about the possibility of having a donation of those that want to pay more for those that
Yeah,
can't
that's right.
afford
Pay
it.
it forward, yeah.
Well, I think in
That's a good
Humanistics
option.
you can
You
have
can do-
another
Yeah.
one
We
that
can do a
says
buy one,
just,
get one option.
yeah, or
So we can
or
include that anyway.
Yeah.
pay
So
for
you
someone
could do
else.
like a buy a wage ticket plus give a koha or a donation.
Mm.
And
You
then
could, yeah.
you could do it buy an unwaged ticket and not give one, or give one if you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
I just don't know how it works if you do say you want to. I guess if someone takes the buy one give. Because I'm just trying to get my head around that. So you bought a ticket for yourself and there's an extra ticket for someone else, but it's just going to count as if we've sold 2 tickets, and that second ticket isn't going to be allocated to someone.
We would have to allocate it. Yeah.
Then you could promo for so when someone needs to talk to Humanistics to work out the actual opportunity of regards how it works.
Okay. Well, maybe you can update that
Yes.
and then reshare it, and then we won't finally push go, but nearly there. Well, thank you, everybody.
Should I just liaise with you regarding payment for the other bid?
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
The first 3 there.
Thank you for coming.